Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Daily Betslip. It is myself, Ben Heisler, will be joining me later, but right now, special guest, my friend, former coworker, Kris Abbott. For the OGs out there would have remembered us. Did a couple of shows, Guys and Bets, back in the day. R.I.P. to Guys and Bets.
You know what, Guys and Bets was cutting edge, Ian. It was cutting edge. It was ahead of its time.
It was.
I love that you and Joe are doing some stuff now. You and I were part of a MLB preview show earlier this week or last week. So, man, it's cool. I'm really happy everyone from the old gang is doing so well. So, and congratulations to you on the show and everything else that you've been up to.
Yes, thank you very much. And you yourself, congratulations to you as well. Executive in the iGaming industry here, contributed with Hammer HQ, in which you just mentioned. We just did an MLB preview show before the start of the playoffs, which is right where we're going to start, because our Toronto Blue Jays just had one of the biggest collapses in MLB postseason history. I think it actually was the biggest collapse in American postseason history. You were there, season ticket holder. You watched more Blue Jays baseball than maybe anyone else out there. How did it feel there in the building? What were the vibes like? Just give me your breakdown of what happened in that game.
Man, I've been through a lot of emotions in my life. I've been through a lot of emotions in the last few days. And I don't know if they've ever been any stronger. It was, let me start. Like, before the game, it was great. You had the perfect setup. You had Robbie Ray, who, wanted more than the Jays were going to give him, against the guy who replaced him. And then it's like, oh, is Robbie Ray going to outduel Kevin Gausman? The answer was no. The fans were all over Robbie Ray. He looked to be rattled. The next guy who came in, the fans were all over him. He was rattled. Teoscar Hernandez is hitting bombs. It's 8-1. And Diego Castillo comes out of the bullpen and hits Whit Merrifield in the head. And everyone boos. And Diego Castillo's like, what are you going to do about it? And the answer was nothing, because they got out of the inning right away. And that was the turning point, if you ask me. I don't know. It was like, I felt like Kevin Gausman should have came out and dotted the next guy right between the numbers, right? Like, it's 8-1. If there's a chance to do it then. Instead, he gave up a rocket of a single, and next thing you know, the bases are loaded. He gets 2 out. Everyone's on the edge of their seat. I had no trouble with John Schneider going to Tim Meza at that point. You have one lefty. He's your lefty. Is he the best lefty? Definitely not, but he's your guy. Statistically, Carlos Santana works from the right side. He comes in, he spikes his first pitch about 55 feet, wild pitch, run, scores, and then the 3-run home run. Okay, so the wind is out of the sails. We go to the 6th. The Jays get one back. They're up 9-5 and 9-5 into the 8th. So it still should have been okay until it wasn't. And it was just one of those things, like, when you see a car accident happening and you're absolutely not able to do anything about it, and then the game was over. And my first initial thought was, I'm getting $7,000 back, man. They made us pay up front all the way through the World Series. So I drank some of that money to get over the pain.
Well, there you go. As I have my Falcons hat on now, as a Falcons, Maple Leafs, and Blue Jays fan, as I've talked about since that has happened, I've experienced my fair share of heartbreak. I think it's not as bad as 28-3, but I think the loss was worse than the 4-1 Game 7 lead that the Leafs blew to the Bruins back about 10 years ago, if you remember that one. Was it worse than that? I would say so.
I remember that. I was watching that one in a bar in St. John's, Newfoundland, for anyone who's familiar with Canadian geography. It has to be. This Jays team was a World Series favorite. They were 10-1, 9-1 in the preseason. And this is how they went out. Now, I'm not surprised, Ian, because, if you follow me throughout the year, you know that I said this team was lucky to ever get out of the wild card round.
Yeah.
But I think they made a lot of people believers in the way they played in September. Even me, to a degree. But Seattle's good, man. You got to give Seattle credit. To be down 8-1 in a game where, hey, if we lose, we can come back tomorrow against Ross Stripling / Jose Barrios. It's easy to say, okay, we'll get them tomorrow. But for them to dig down and come back and win that game in that environment, I think you got to give hats off to the Mariners. But yeah, man, being a Toronto sports fan is brutal. I already switched to the Ottawa Senators this summer. I'm done with the Leafs.
Oh, come on. You can't switch to the Senators, man.
Honestly, I'm Tim Stutzel for life, and I wrote and canceled my Blue Jays season tickets. That's it.
You cancel your Blue Jay season tickets.
I did, but that's circumstantial. That was happening anyway because I'm not going to be in Toronto all the time next year.
Oh boy! And then you had to move the Senators. You couldn't even go a Western Conference team. You had to go with the Senators. Come on.
Well, I like what's going on in Ottawa, and the whole thing with the Senators for years and years was ownership. I thought was kind of stifling them. Certainly didn't want Eugene Melnyk to die. Unfortunately, the illness that took him, but they did get a change, and there is a new direction there, and you can see it with the way that they're going about building this team. Plus, I like a lot of their really young players. I like what's going on there.
Shout out Drake Batherson from my hometown. Let's keep talking MLB though, because I will give you credit. You said it when we did that MLB preview show for the Hammer Network. You basically called the series to perfection. You said they weren't going to hit Luis Castillo. They didn't. And then you said they were going to be able to hit Robbie Ray, but then you kind of still thought they might lose the game. They're going to lose the series, and they hit Robbie Ray and then still lost the series. So let's move on to the divisional round right now. Phillies just upset the Braves. The Mariners are now up 6-2 on the Astros. Do you think that says something for like the whole the rust debate versus rest? Like, are these wildcard teams kind of strong plays now, or is this kind of too early to tell?
I don't know for the series, but if I'm changing my tone toward the games tonight and getting something down on Cleveland and San Diego, I think I really thought, especially in these first two games, Justin Verlander and the Atlanta Braves, I thought they were going to be ripe for the picking, these two teams, especially Seattle with the way they had this emotional win. Then they had to fly from Toronto to Houston and go in and play this team. I guess rust versus rest is really a thing right now. So some of these teams haven't played in a week, and that's a long time for a Major League Baseball team, and it shows. It absolutely shows. So I had both favorites in the early games today, so that's lost money. I was looking at the under tonight, and now I might take a little bit of Cleveland, whether it's run line or what have you. But it's a short series. It's best of 5. So if it was best of 7, I wouldn't worry so much about the favorites. But it looks like you're going to have 2 underdogs climb on top in game 1. That's interesting to me.
Do you think any of them can win the divisional series, or especially in the Braves? Phillies case, just kind of a game 1 luck. Like, do you see any of these big underdogs moving on to the championship series?
Well, we saw the Braves make a comeback late, right, after they were down big, and they just kind of ran out of time. There's still time to go in that Seattle-Houston game, so that one's not over yet. Maybe we just talked ourselves in the first 5 plays for San Diego and Cleveland tonight. I think what you'll see is the favorites primarily win out. But I mean, listen, man, 1 game in a best of 5 is a lot. Yeah, it really truly is. And Philly and Seattle are both deep into the rotation. Like they still got their aces to come. That's tricky. I'd be happy if I had an underdog ticket in those series.
Yeah, some interesting results from the early games today. We'll see if that holds up tonight. Let's talk a little hockey, because with MLB going on, with hockey, I know it technically started over the weekend, but I mean, really, I think the season kind of starts tonight. That's a big reason why I wanted you on the show. What better guy to talk to with about both MLB and the NHL? Who are the? I can't believe you switched to the Senators. Who's the best Canadian team this year? Are you completely out on the Leafs now? Like, if you're talking the best Canadian team, obviously the two of us are Canadians. We're going to be interested in that. We haven't won a cup since the Canadians, the Montreal Canadiens, back in the early 90s. Who's the best Canadian team? Who is the best shot to win a cup, to bring the cup home?
I think that's the Edmonton Oilers, and I don't even know that there's that much of a debate around it. I think they got better. They addressed some needs that they had both on defense and in net, and they've still got 2 of probably the 3 best players in the world on their team. So there's also some unfinished business there. They got into the playoffs. They had some success last year, and as we've seen, it usually takes a couple of years for teams to climb that mountain, or whatever other cliche you want to use. Ian, I don't know that the Leafs got better. In fact, I think they might have got worse. I was looking at their completed roster yesterday, and what's going to happen? Austin Matthews is going to score 60 goals. Mitch Marner's going to get a ton of points. The fan base is going to turn on John Tavares at some point. There's going to be a long-term injury to like Morgan Riley. You've got 2 goalies, so you've got none if you want to use the NFL quarterback analogy. And now more than ever, Kyle Dubas and Sheldon Keefe are on the hot seat. So, I think, I don't know. I don't think Dubas is here when the draft comes around. I'm worried about the Leafs. I think their division is better. Buffalo, Ottawa, Detroit, all going to give them better games than they did. I'm worried if I'm a Leafs fan, which I'm not anymore. So
I am worried, to be honest. This is the least amount of optimism I've felt about this team in the past couple of years. I thought 2 years ago when it was like all Canadian teams playing against each other, we had the Canadians in the first round of the playoffs. I thought that was kind of a year. Last year, it really kind of felt like that was going to be our year. We need one of the goaltenders to step up. If one of them ends up being, Matt Murray starts playing as good as he has at points in his career, then we might have a chance. But I'm not optimistic. Last year being up, heading into Game 6 in the Lightning and then losing 2 games straight, it really ripped my heart out. Truly.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is I was at Game 6 in Tampa, just happened to be in Disney on vacation, and outside of the top line, there's just no skill. There's no skill in the bottom of that team, and Tampa really exposed that. And I don't think there's any more skill in the bottom 6 now than there was. Nick Robertson's back in the AHL. How many years are you going to do this to this guy if he's not going to be one of your guys? The Tavares $10 million contract completely handicaps them. The flat cap era, nobody saw COVID and a pandemic and no revenue coming, but that's the reality of it.
I'm getting the exact same feeling I felt when I was on that MLB preview show and you talked about how the Mariners were going to beat the Blue Jays, and it hurts to hear because it's probably true is the issue. We're probably going to get to the end of the Leaf season, and most of what you said is probably going to be right. Let's talk about the defending champs. So Colorado Avalanche, I think they got significantly worse this offseason, actually, but still by far the betting favorites to win the Stanley Cup. Do you think they can repeat? Obviously, a little bit of an advantage with how the Western Conference isn't necessarily all that strong compared to the East. How do you feel about the Avalanche heading into this year?
Yeah, sure they can repeat, but I think you're right. The big names are still there, but they lost a lot of their depth, and they also got a lot out of guys who've never played to that level before. I think there's an element of lightning in a bottle there. I do think they have some good young players that may be able to step up, like Alex Newhook, who was not a huge part of the Stanley Cup run. He's going to be a good player for this team. Cale Makar is probably going to win the Norris Trophy. I'd say definitely going to win the Norris Trophy unless he gets hurt, and he'll have a Hart Trophy discussion around him this year. Last defenseman to do that was Chris Pronger, though. It just doesn't happen. So sure, but not at the odds where they are right now. I think it's way too short. You're right about the Western Conference, so who else it's going to be? So that's why I think the Edmonton Oilers have a real good opportunity to come out of the West here this year. The parity is real in the NHL, even in the Eastern Conference, right? There's a lot more parity now. So I know you're in New York. I think the Rangers have a real good look, and you're getting some pretty good odds on them right now too.
So my biggest issue with the Avalanche is their goaltender. Like, is Alexander Georgiev the answer for the Avalanche?
Has he been the answer? Has he ever been a number one goalie anywhere? The answer is no. And once you get that full season, we saw it with Jack Campbell in Toronto, and I hate to keep going back to Toronto, but it's the team I see the most. Campbell was really good. He was good as a backup in LA. He maybe didn't get the chance in Dallas, and he came here and he couldn't sustain it because the season's so long. We've seen that with Georgiev in New York when he had chances to roam with the ball. He was good in flashes, but never sustained. So, hey, I didn't think Kemper was going to get it done, and there is an element to if the puck is never in your zone, then you don't have to have a good goalie. So we'll see.
Yeah, I was talking to Holden Kushner last week, and he kind of said that, like, people kind of forgot, or at least I kind of forgot. The Avalanche didn't even have that good of goaltending in the playoffs, and they still won the Stanley Cup pretty easily. So they proved you don't even need to have strong goaltending to do it. Let's talk about the Rangers a little bit. Would you consider them your dark horse team? I'm kind of not high on the Rangers this year. I think Igor Shesterkin had to stand on his head. I thought they had a couple holes, especially defensively. They hung them out to dry. A lot of high danger scoring chances allowed. But, I mean, if Igor Shesterkin can repeat that kind of success, I think they can be a dark horse. Would you consider the Rangers your dark horse, or is there a different team a little bit off the board that you think are going to take a big step forward and might contend this year?
I think there's plenty of teams that'll take a good step forward, but contending, I don't know. Like, I think the Devils are going to be a lot better this year. I think the Sabres are going to be a lot better this year, but I don't think they're going to be contending teams. I think the Rangers, we talked about it just a minute ago, teams that kind of had to slay a few dragons to get to the princess. I think the Rangers have it. They had a good young nucleus now for the last 3 or 4 years. They need to get more out of a guy like Capo Caco, who had so much around him coming into the league. If those guys ever kind of hit for you, you're in good shape. I think there's a little bit of mystique around this team, and I love Gerard Gallant as a coach. I love Shesterkin as a goalie. He's got to stay healthy, and if he's getting that barrage that he got last year, it could be tough. And man, I don't know if Chris Kreider is going to score 70 goals. He's going to. So there's some questions, but I think they've got a good team. I think and considering I don't think the Metro is a very strong division this year. So I think they should get into the playoffs, and then I think they can do some damage there. So I'll give them a dark horse rating for sure.
Let's
another one. Sorry, Ian. Just quickly, is a team that watches the Vancouver Canucks. They've underachieved for a couple of years. A full year with Bruce Boudreau behind the bench. If Thatcher Demko can be the Thatcher Demko that he could potentially be, there's a chance that the Canucks could surprise some teams.
I do like the Canucks I like them to make the playoffs. I was going to bet on it. I haven't yet. I got to do that after the show. I'm going to place a little bet on the Canucks to make the playoffs. I do like them, especially weakest division in the NHL too. I think that Pacific division. Let's switch up, talk game of the night tonight, which we have identified as the Guardians against the Yankees. You've watched a lot of American League baseball this season. What's your take on this Yankees team, and what's your bet for game one against the Guardians?
I think Yankees team in a short series terrifies me if I'm a Yankees fan, because we've seen what they can do, but man, we've seen them go on some tough stretches. Look, Aaron Judge is going to be Aaron Judge, but they came to Toronto a couple of weeks ago, and Josh Donaldson might have had 10 at-bats, 12 at-bats during the trip, and I'd say he swung at 97% of the pitches he saw, and he hit about 2% of them, and he was batting cleanup for them. The thing with the Yankees is there's so many guys that could do well for you, but I don't know. They would worry me a lot, because to me they're a little bit like the Jays in their lineup, in the fact that it's kind of long ball or not a lot. And this Cleveland team, man, they're just annoying. The top of their order gets on base. They find ways to move guys around. They get the clutch hit, and it doesn't have to be a home run. I don't know. I would be nervous if I was a Yankees fan here. We talked about Cleveland in our MLB preview show on the Hammer last week, and they did exactly what we said they were going to do. It took a little bit longer to do it on Saturday, but I have no trouble getting behind the Guardians as such an underdog here. My bet for tonight, though, was under, and I got it at -115, under 7. I haven't looked lately. I don't know if that's still there or not, but that's what I'm on.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Guardians as an underdog here in this spot. I hate Garrett Cole. He might be my least favorite player in Major League Baseball. He has not done that great since the start of September, so I think I'm going to back the underdog Guardians here, especially after how we've seen the two wildcard teams play in the first game and a half today anyways. It's going to be an interesting series for sure. That just about does it, Kris. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it, my friend. You can follow him on Twitter at Real Kris Abbott. Anywhere else, Kris, that people can find your work?
Oh man, I'm a bit everywhere these days. Right now, I'm hosting 2 shows on the Hammer. One called Day to Day, which is an injury report show we do early in the week, and then we do a full card breakdown. It's called Edge Rush. TA from Clev Analytics and professional gambler Hitman428 on Twitter. These guys are really sharp. They help me do a lot better when the weekend comes, that's for sure. And then you'll be seeing some more out of me on the Hammer when NHL season starts. So I'll be doing some analyst work there as well. Yeah. And if you're in Canada, we've got a new book coming. It's called Betano.ca. Keep a lookout for that in a couple of weeks.
Love it, love it, love it. Yes, one of the best follows on Twitter for gambling on the NHL. Can't wait with the real season kind of starts tonight. The Sharks and the Predators in Europe, that was kind of weird. So real NHL season starts tonight. Kris, I will talk to you again after the show, because I need to convince you to come back to the Leafs fan base. I can't believe you switched to Ottawa on me. Come on.
It's good.
The other Ontario team.
It's going to take some work. Oh, man. Drake Batherson, Thomas Chabot, Tim Stützle, Claude Giroux, big Claude Giroux guy, Brady Tkachuk. Yeah, man, they're a likable team. DJ Smith, I'd love to go drinking with that guy.
All right, we'll see. Thank you so much, Kris, for coming on. I appreciate it. You take care, and good luck with your bets this tonight and this week. Coming up next, Ben Heisler is going to jump on to talk best bets for tonight with me. I got my best bet for both NHL games tonight, as well as an MLB bet for Dodgers Padres. And I believe Ben has 3 different MLB plays for today. And there he is, Ben Heisler. What's going on? Quick thoughts on the first 2 game and a half of Major League Baseball slate here. Some underdogs doing well so far.
Yeah, underdogs, and you're seeing the conversation start to go around whether or not the teams that are on the bye are actually in an advantageous position moving forward. Obviously, the answer is yes, but in the early stages of the divisional round, the teams that had to win their way through it just seems like they're a little bit more crisp, especially early on. So maybe that has something to do with a couple plays that we're going to be on tonight, Ian.
Yes, for sure. And we also got community picks that we need to get through here. Just 3 for tonight, and then we're going to dive into our best bets. So why don't we just start right now with those? And also, there is a poll that should be up on YouTube for your best bet for Guardians and Yankees. Be sure to vote in that. This pick coming in from Witt, at Mike Witt. Quantrill, over 3.5 strikeouts. That is the Guardians starting pitcher against the Yankees. I like that just because I like to fade the Yankees any which way possible. And I didn't mention this with Kris, but if the Yankees do win the World Series, I think I need to move back to Canada because I've trashed the Yankees all season. I'm now here in New York. I'm even more in the heart of New York. I'm in Yankee area now. Before I was kind of living in Mets kind of area, Brooklyn, Queens a little bit. I'm in Yankees town now. So if the Yankees win the World Series, I need a jet. So any thoughts on Quantrill over 3.5 strikeouts, Ben?
He's hit that number in 5 of his last 6 starts. He's not much of a strikeout artist. Like if you're looking at his strikeouts per 9 innings over the course of 32 starts this year, it's only a little more than 6 strikeouts per 9. But he seems to have figured out something over the second half of the season where, Ian, he didn't lose a game the entire way. In all 17 of his starts. Now, again, win-loss record is not necessarily reflective of whether or not a pitcher has been dominant or very good or not, but especially as of late, something's been working with Quantrill, especially with his fastball location and also with his breaking pitch and breaking pitch command too. So yeah, the way he's pitching with the Yankees having extended rest, I think it makes a lot of sense tonight.
I love it. I'm not on a pitching prop for that game, but I think I did a parlay today that I wrote up on BetSided for today's MLB slate. The over hitting Phillies, Atlanta. Logan Gilbert looks like he went over a strikeout total. Ooh, I'm 2 legs into that parlay, looking good. Let's get into the next community pick. Vincent Chiarelli at $10 on 12. And I can tell by his profile picture there, he's a hockey guy. He's a Devils fan. The Devils.
We all have that picture of any time that we're at a hockey game. You try to get down as close to the ice as possible, get your arm around the person that you're with. I have that one from with a couple buddies of mine who went to Boston University, which is a great hockey school. And I think there might have been one at like a Blackhawks game or Coyotes game, but I distinctly remember Agganis Arena at Boston University. That's a great place to see a college hockey game.
For sure. He says hockey home teams tonight, lean over in LA, under in New York. So the 2 home teams, that would be the Rangers and the Kings. I believe it's in Los Angeles. I'll just double check that. I have a pick for both those games coming up, so I won't spoil it. Yes, it is in Los Angeles. I won't spoil it too much. I actually thought about going to the Rangers game tonight. Not too far from me whatsoever, but tickets a little too pricey for 2 teams I do not care about.
Right, exactly. I was going to say, you hit your parlay tonight, and then all of a sudden that next Rangers game feels a little bit more reasonable for you.
Yes, not only do I not care about these 2 teams, I actually don't really like them. Although I do like the 2 goaltenders in Shesterkin and Vasilevsky, but I don't like the Rangers fans. They're arrogant, and the Lightning eliminated the Maple Leafs last year. So didn't want to spend $200 for nosebleed tickets to that game tonight, but I'll give about my pick for the game in a little bit. Best of luck with you. I love seeing some hockey picks coming in with the community picks now that the hockey season is starting. And I think we have one more community pick for tonight's slate from Ray B at Why Are You Hurt? Oh, that's a deep question, Ray. I wish both the Rangers and Lightning would lose. I agree. So I'm going with Knights plus 1.5 and Eichel to score a goal. Jack Eichel, big acquisition for the Golden Knights last year. Golden Knights kind of traded the house for him. and he didn't exactly live up to expectations. So big question mark for the Golden Knights this year is if Eichel can take a step forward with the organization and produce like they need him to. So if you think Eichel's going to produce the season, I guess a good place to start would be for him scoring a goal tonight. So why are you hurt is going in on the Knights tonight, including Eichel.
Ian, I'm not much for conspiracy theories on this show, but if you were going to have a burner Twitter account, kind of think that would be right up your alley. You're fading the Lightning. You're fading the Rangers. Why are you hurt? Or whatever it was might be some sort of symbolism to the teams that you root for. I'm not saying that you're putting on any sort of, burner account on the show, but maybe I'm a tad bit skeptical here.
No, I wouldn't be taking the Golden Knights. I'll get to my pick here in a little bit, okay. But I do have a burner account out there. I will not say what it is. It might be Iain MacMillan, but I don't know. Keep an eye out for that account. That might be my burner. It's very secret. No one would be able to figure out that's me. All right, those are the community picks for tonight. Let's get into our best bets for tonight. Let's just go back and forth here. Let's actually start with the game of the night, because I think you have two bets for the game of the night between the Yankees and Guardians. Is that correct?
I do.
Let's pump those out, because that's going to start here in like an hour and a half.
Okay. All right. So let's start with a little Yerfie action at plus 115 between the Guardians and the Yankees.
Love this bet.
Would be the yes run first inning. It's really not a good matchup for Garrett Cole. And I heard the conversation with Kris before. I know you mentioned that you like to fade Garrett Cole. This might be an ideal opportunity to do so, especially in the early going. The Guardians strike out the least amount of any team in Major League Baseball, but they strike out even less against right-handed pitchers. It's less than 17% of the time. Also, Garrett Cole struggles in the first inning. For as good and as dominant of a pitcher as he is, his ERA in the first inning this year is 4.91. Over the course of his career, it's 4.35. You mix in a trend that we've seen over the course of the day, which is these road teams, these underdogs that are coming off of their wild card win, just seem to be seeing the ball a lot better. They're getting good at bats, and they're kind of annoying a lot of these top quality starting pitchers from the get-go. So factor all these things in. Guardians don't strike out. Garrett Cole struggles. You get plus odds. Give me the Yerfie from Yankee Stadium tonight. I like the Guardians at least to get on the board. And maybe if the Yankees do get on the board against Quantrill, it's because he's not striking out a lot of guys either.
Love that bet, especially at the price there, plus money, plus 115. I love that quite a bit. Beers and Bowties has a question for the game. Let's just get to that now. He says, thoughts on Guardians team total over 2.5. Love that pick as well. Number one, it's fading the Yankees. Like I'm saying, I want to do every which way possible. Number two, we've seen these wildcard teams have hot bats early in games. And number three, Garrett Cole has not been good. I think he has an over 4 ERA dating back to the start of September. So Guardians to get 3 runs, team total over. I like that bet. Any thoughts on that one, Ben? Do you like that one too? Yeah, I like it quite a bit. I think if you even want to make it specific to Garrett Cole, you can see what their team total is in the first 5 innings. Maybe it's only 1.5. Maybe it's 1, and it's just a little bit juiced towards the over. So I'm with you, Beers and Bowties. I think that's the right way to approach it. Maybe on the earlier side going up against this Yankees team. Yeah, love it. I am, like I mentioned when Kris is on there, I'm on the Guardians to win. In my parlay, I took Guardians plus 1.5. So as long as Guardians keep it close, my parlay stays alive. But I like the Guardians outright as an underdog. But you have one more pick for the game of the night. So let us know what that is. Yeah, I mentioned the first 5 as part of that team total in our conversation with the question from Beers and Bowties. But might as well go for it for the Guardians as well at plus 170. Again, the trend for a lot of these teams jumping on teams early. We mentioned that Garrett Cole struggles in the first. You can get it right now at plus 170, I believe, over at FanDuel. And also from the perspective of Cal Quantrill, last 17 games, 11-0 win-loss record. Again, not the end-all be-all for pitchers, but he does have an ERA less than 3. He's got 73 strikeouts. Mentioned that his strikeout rate has hit above his prop in 5 of his last 6 games. And the Yankees bats, Ian, have been pretty mediocre since the start of August. They have a .235 team batting average that's 21st in baseball and a weighted on base average, or WOBA, of .310. Now that's better. It's 12th in baseball. And I tend to look at that more so than batting average as a collective, quality offensive stat, but it's not great. And you're going up against a pitcher who has looked dominant
in the second half, really doing a good job of pitching and not just blowing anything by these guys. Yankees still have the opportunity to possibly get one out of the ballpark or two tonight. It's the nature of their lineup, but Quantrill pitches to contact. He doesn't walk a lot of guys, and he's locating. And all these things are factors that you want to be able to have for a pitcher in the postseason. So might as well jump on Cleveland early in the first 5. Eventually, maybe the Yankees bats wake up late. It's a good Cleveland bullpen, but this protects you a little bit, especially in a pitching matchup where I think you can find some value.
Yeah, Peter Dewey was on the show yesterday, and him being a Yankees fan wanted to give a pick for the game, and he was actually on Guardians' first 5 as well. He has faith maybe the Yankees can come back late in the game, but he is on Guardians' first 5 as well. So you guys are both on that bet. My MLB bet for tonight, and then I'll get into my NHL picks afterwards. I'm going to look at the Dodgers-Padres game. I'm going to take the Dodgers run line. So maybe this is going to go against the wildcard teams that are hot, but my biggest issue here is Mike Clevinger. I do not have faith in him tonight whatsoever. And I know you have a pick on him coming up, so you'll have an opinion as well. But against the Dodgers this season, he has not been good. He has an ERA of 9.69 in 3 starts against them, 14 earned runs and only 13 innings pitched. That's not good. And also the Dodgers in general have mostly dominated the Padres this season, 14-5 against the Padres. And we all know that the Dodgers have been a fantastic run line team this entire season, no matter who they play. So I like the Dodgers. It's chalky. Yeah, it's minus 115, even though it's a run line. Yeah, but I think they're going to break this trend of wildcard teams performing well in game 1. So yeah, I'll take Dodgers run line tonight for the final game of the night.
Listen, if you're going to bet the Dodgers, you might as well bet them on the run line. They've been by far and away one of the biggest winners in baseball this season. So I certainly don't hate the play. And the Padres, before you get to Josh Hader, they do have some concerns with that bullpen as well. And the Dodgers just, they come after you. And I know that the numbers for Clevinger don't look good, but let me give you a reason why I think I'm actually going to go towards him, at least for a prop, as opposed to whether or not he could end up winning the game for San Diego. And that is Clevinger on longer days of rest over the course of the season has been far and away better than just on regular rest. So on 6 or more days of rest, it's actually kind of the opposite to what we've seen with a lot of these different pitchers that are going today. Clevinger, it actually works out in his favor. So 6 or more days of rest for Mike Clevinger. He has a 2.90 ERA in 6 starts this season. On regular rest, his ERA goes all the way up to 6.82 in 7 starts. Now, the strikeout prop, it's over 3.5. You're getting it at plus value at plus 110 against the Dodgers. Yes, he has not hit this number in 4 straight games. It's been around 3 strikeouts pretty much in every one. But again, we're talking about a Dodgers lineup, and the rest of these teams, Ian, the bats are just off for a lot of these home teams that have been waiting around. So if all of a sudden they're just having some trouble getting adjusted again, next thing you know, Clevinger has a couple strikeouts early, just needs maybe a few more last 5 innings. I think he can get to that number of 4. This is the ideal time, I think, where he would want to face the Dodgers on extended rest. And for them looking a little bit rusty at the plate, it's kind of a similar mantra as to why we're going after Quantrill in his over tonight. I think the same can be said for Clevinger, except you're just getting better odds.
All right, I see it. We can both win our bets there, even though we're kind of in some ways on opposite sides.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If Clevinger gets off to a strong start early and then the Dodgers come roaring back, end up winning this game by 2, both of us are happy. Both of us win.
I don't know if it's being picked up on the microphone right now, but there's something going on outside my window, and people are singing like church hymns, and it's kind of freaking me out a little bit. Was that being picked up on the microphone at all?
I didn't hear any of it. I don't know. Gambler works in mysterious ways, doesn't he? Oh, I hear it now.
Can you hear that?
Yeah. I mean, are they singing anything in particular? Like
Oh, there is a procession of people in religious garb slowly walking down the street and singing. I don't know what's going on outside my apartment right now, but I'm kind of scared, to be honest.
Listen, man, you what you sign up for when
I'm new to this apartment. I didn't know I'd be having religious processions going on outside my window. That's a first. At my last place, it was the ice cream truck. I guess now I got to deal with religious processions. I have no idea what's going on.
Listen,
okay.
We all make sacrifices in life. You might have to deal with ice cream trucks and religious processions, but you can get a slice of pizza 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I have to drive to the middle of nowhere.
That's a fact. This is wild, though. I did not expect this to happen. All right, I got 2 NHL plays for tonight. This show is what has been one. It's going to be one of our longer ones in recent memory, but that's okay. I got 2 NHL plays for tonight. My first one, I'm going to go with the Lightning to beat the Rangers. I got an even money. Both games actually tonight. The odds are fairly close. I'm going to take the Lightning at even money. And I mentioned this when Kris was on earlier. I just don't really. I'm not really buying it on the Rangers yet. To be honest, to be fair, I faded them a lot last season, and I did lose a lot of money betting against the Rangers last season. But Igor Shesterkin needs to have another historic season in net for them to have similar success, because they give up a ton of high-danger scoring chances. The majority of their goals came on the power play that weren't great 5-on-5. So maybe they can repeat that success, but I think they're going to regress a little bit. And I just think it's wild that they're favorites against the 3-time now Eastern Conference champions in the Tampa Bay Lightning. And if there's one goaltender who's just as good as Igor Shesterkin, it's Andrei Vasilevsky. So those two guys kind of cancel each other off. I will take the Lightning at even money to win the first game tonight. And in the late game, the Kings and the Golden Knights, I will take the Kings at home, -115 slight favorites. In my NHL preseason article, I wrote about 2 team total point totals for the season. I was taking the over on the Kings and the under on the Golden Knights, so naturally I'm going to back the Kings in the spot. The Kings did all the hard things well last year. They ranked 4th in the NHL in Corsi percentage, but why they struggled was because they just couldn't find the back of the net, dead last in shooting percentage. But they went out and got Kevin Fiala from the Wild, who got a career-high 33 goals. So I think he's going to help their shooting issues. And they just need to, even if they get average in shooting percentage, they're going to be one of the better teams in the West, I think, this year. And the Golden Knights, I think they're going to take another step back. When they had their expansion draft a few years ago when they were a new team, they drafted to win now. And that now phase has come and gone. They missed the playoffs last year. They don't really have great defensive defensemen. Their goaltending has had issues. So I think we're going to see the Golden Knights take a step back this season. I think we're going to see the Kings take a step forward. So naturally, I like the Kings as slight home favorites tonight. So there you have it. Those are my 2 NHL picks for tonight. I will say I am 1-0 in the NHL season because I did take the under in the first game in Europe. That hit. So let's try to keep that perfect NHL record alive. Let's go ahead and cue up the recap graphic for our picks so far. Or I guess these are not so far. These are it because we already talked game of the night. I'm on Lightning +100, Kings -115, Dodgers run line in the late MLB game tonight. Ben, you're on Guardians first 5 inning at +170. You're also on the Yurfie +115, and then the over 3.5 strikeouts for Mike Clevenger of the Padres. And the poll results are in. The poll for game of the night. Yankees -1.5. Apparently the Guardians +1.5 won on Twitter, but the YouTube votes came in and it gave the Yankees the edge. So still pretty close though.
Yeah, very close one. I figured with our back and forth on this game, I thought the argument would that's what's so interesting is that I figured the Twitter voting would probably lean towards Yankees. I figured based off of our conversation, those that are watching on YouTube, we clearly have a side here on this Guardians-Yankees game, and it's not on the side of the Yankees. So I think the community is just fading us, which is fine. Like, we always root for the community. It's hard when it's completely against how we're playing the game. But I don't know. This one maybe stings a little bit today.
I will say, listen, I love the community. I love the people who watch, the people who vote in the polls. Their bets have not been good lately. They went Chiefs last night. Them and Peter, they were both on the Chiefs last night. I was on the Raiders. They lost. They weren't great last week. So maybe it's a good thing that we're on the opposite side of the community here. Once again, I love the community, but they haven't been great lately. I'll just say that.
Step up your game, community. And
yes.
Then maybe we'll start to side together a little bit.
Correct. Well, that just about does it for our show. Now that you're done watching this, be sure to go check out this week's episode of The Early Read, which went live early today. Reed Wallach, our college football betting expert, gave out his best bets for what I am learning to believe is a very strong slate of college football games this weekend. He was joined by the hosts of the Reign of Troy podcast. I'm sure they talked a little USC. And tomorrow I'll be back on Daily Betslip with Donovan Smoot. And maybe we'll give a little early look into some NFL games, maybe. But also with NHL here and MLB here, I'm sure we'll be focusing on that. So, Ben, any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Final thoughts are one of our favorite bands is getting back together, Blink-182.
Oh, best news of the day.
Very exciting. I am seeing the great band Goose in concert tonight, one of the great jam bands of our current generation. But if you were to set odds, Ian, on the first song that Blink-182 will play when they make their concert reuniting tour, what do you think it'll be, and what would you put the odds at?
Oh, that's a great question. All the Small Things, maybe?
Okay, that's good. Put it at like what, 5-1? Little's needed something.
Yeah, 5-1. I'm not super confident. I mean, I've never seen. Have you ever seen Blink-182 live?
I have.
I have not. Do you remember what they opened with?
In the first, listen, when you're almost 35, you start to divide your life into two halves. So like I'm getting to the close of like pre-college and post-college. So my Blink-182 concert experience was the pre-college days. I think I was in 8th grade. I would go with the Anthem Part 2. I think that's the one. That's a good get everybody riled up, get everyone going. Maybe they put Travis up in one of those drum things that you flip them around, which they did last time. I know this isn't what people tune in for, but damn it, it's worth the conversation.
I love it. I think it's May 19th. I think they are here in New York. I think Brooklyn, May 23rd. So I will 100% be at one of those shows.
New York gets 3 Blink-182 concerts. You get it at the Garden, you get it at Barclays Center, and you get it in Elmira, which is where Belmont Park is. Me here in Kansas City, the closest avenue that we're getting is one night in Chicago, and then I gotta drive 8 hours to Denver if I want to try and see them there too. Come on, like little blatant disrespect by Blink-182 in the Midwest states.
Hey, I grew up in Nova Scotia, Canada, Ben. We got literally nobody came. I'd have to go to Montreal at best, which is still like a 10-hour drive away. So I feel your pain, man. I'm taking advantage of it while I can.
Okay.
So there you have it. That is our show. Tweet at us what you think the opening song will be for Blink-182 on their upcoming tour. So excited. What great news to wake up to. But yeah, that's our show. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Good luck with your bets tonight. Gamble or bless. I'll talk to you tomorrow.